Welcome back. Time to talk a little bit more about Prime's training program as far as CDL training program, the Prime Student Driver PSD Student Training Program. I actually have quite a bit of an opinion on this. One of the big questions that you get is, should I go to Prime or something similar to Prime, or should I go to a truck driving school? And my very strong opinion on this, and this is based on my own experience, based on what I went through with Prime and what I have heard. I've heard a lot of guys who have gone through truck driving school. And I'm sure there are some very good truck driving schools out there. I don't want this to come across as truck driving schools are awful. But my experience, everybody that I've talked to, I haven't really come across anybody who's been felt that what they got out of a truck driving school was better, per se, than what you get with Prime. I also am going to say, to some extent, that my experience was different than the experience that you're going to currently get if you start as a PSD. Again, Prime Student Driver, that is Prime's CDL school. If you come to Prime with no truck driving experience whatsoever, you will go through the PSD program. You'll also actually go through the PSD program if you've been a truck driver in the past and have taken some time off. Actually, if you've taken off more than 59 days. Basically, if you've been a truck driver within the last 2 months, Prime considers you an experienced driver. If you need to go through what is typically called a refresher course, Prime's theory, if you already have a CDL, and again, if you've been gone or out of trucking, or if you've taken just some time off, say, hey, I want to spend 3 months at home, and then I'm going to go back out and drive, they'll make you take their refresher course. Now, I'm sure that there are some individuals, somebody's going to comment and say, well, I took 6 months off and I didn't have to take a refresher course. There are exceptions to every rule, but for the way I understand it is, if you take more than 59 days off, you need to retake the refresher course. You need to go through the orientation at the beginning, and then you go through basically the exact same class that PSD does, which is guys that have come in and never driven a truck before. And my opinion is that Prime Student Driver program is head and shoulders above what you get at a truck driving school. And that is based on the stories that I have heard from guys who have gone to truck driving school. Like I said, I'm sure there are some truck driving schools out there that are very, very good. I just haven't run into very many or any guys that have gone to those schools. I hear somebody who commented on one of my videos within the last couple of weeks here. They had a course set up. Their instructor, and this is a truck driving school, it was a program that was government funded, we'll pay for your re-education, lost their job. And the instructor basically said, here's the speed you need to go at this point of the course. Here's the gear you need to be in. This is the exact same course that you'll be on when you take your CDL test with the state. And that's how it worked. They got the answer key, basically, if you will, to the CDL test from the DOT examiner. And they went out and they got their CDL. I've heard of other guys who have come to Prime, and just to clarify, if you come to Prime after having gone through a CDL school, you're going to go through the TNT. It's trainer and trainee portion. It's the second half of Prime's training program. I like to call it on-the-job training. Basically, you can break up Prime's training program into, we're going to get you your license, and we're going to teach you how to be a truck driver, because they're not the same thing. Just because my PSD instructor liked to say, what you're getting in your first part is you're getting a piece of plastic. Your piece of plastic says that you have the basic knowledge to drive a large vehicle. It does not make you a truck driver. So the first portion is to get you a piece of plastic. That piece of plastic, it doesn't matter if you get no points on any of your tests, the pre-trip, the backing, the over-the-road portion. If you get 100% correct on all of those, or if you get the most wrong that you can possibly get wrong and still pass, you're going to get the exact same piece of plastic that I have, that this guy who's over here who's pulling out with a trailer has, that guy over there who's got another truck. Everybody has the exact same CDL. If you go to a truck driving school, you're going to get the exact same CDL. A CDL is a CDL is a CDL. The part that makes you different from Joe Schmo on the street is Prime's TNT portion. And I don't want to go a whole lot into TNT. You can kind of get some of that information in the tanker training video. That's what is involved in TNT. It's how to drive a truck, how to operate the truck on a daily basis. Less about driving. Driving is a fairly insignificant portion of the job. Well, I shouldn't say insignificant portion, but there's a lot more to it. I talked about it in a video a little while ago about, time, being able to plan your time, trip planning, all those sorts of things. There's so much more to it than just driving. But getting back on topic, prime student driver versus a school. I've heard so many stories of guys who have been given that answer key. Here's the course you're going to be driving when you take the test with the DOT examiner from the state. You go out, you only get a handful of hours. I've heard as few as 3 hours of driving on the road. I've heard guys who've gotten 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. Any number in between, you get just a few hours. A lot of times it's not one-on-one. You'll have one guy sitting here driving, you'll have an instructor sitting here, and you'll have 2 or 3 guys sitting on the bunk. You'll drive for a couple of hours. Maybe you'll drive for an hour. Switch places. You're sitting on the bunk. Somebody else is driving. You don't have that one-on-one time. And that's the one thing that I really think that Prime does unbelievably well. After orientation, there's a lot that's been talked about with the simulators. I'm not a huge fan of the simulators. Prime loves the simulators. They don't like the term video game. They are a expensive, high-tech video simulator. Let's go with video simulator instead of using the term video game. But nothing substitutes what you're doing when you're in the vehicle. And after that first week, it's going to be one-on-one time with you sitting here and an instructor sitting in the passenger seat, or vice versa. And when you're driving, they're paying attention to what you're doing. When your instructor is driving, you're in the passenger seat paying attention and learning how to drive. And again, that's going to be, once you get, you're going to get a Missouri CDL if you go through Prime, which does mean you have to temporarily transfer your residency. It's not a huge deal. They'll give you a piece of paper temporarily establishing your residence at Prime's hotel, the Campus Inn. Once you get your license, you'll transfer it back to your home state. But you'll have to take your permit tests in Missouri. And you have 14 days from the date you have your permit. That's the minimum number of days that you can go out. It used to be about a 4-week program for PSD. It's now a minimum of 14 days. And again, it's a minimum of 14 days. You can stay out longer. But every day that you're with the trainer is that one-on-one time. And that, I think, is what makes Prime's student driver program so much more valuable. First of all, you're going to get a ton more driving time. You're not going to be driving a set course that you're going to come back to and be tested on. You're going to be driving in real-world conditions. You're going to have somebody there with you who will be paying. Their sole job is to pay attention because it's their truck. Most of the time it's going to be a lease operator. There are company drivers who are instructors as well. But it's one-on-one instruction. You get a greater amount of time behind the wheel. And then you can move on to the next portion of your training. But for me personally, I highly, highly recommend it. And it is free. You do have to stay at Prime for 1 year. I know a lot of folks would call that a slave contract, if you will. But Prime is investing significant finances. They're putting, this is about a $135,000 truck. They're entrusting you to handle this truck with you basically fronting. I think it's about $100 you have to physically give Prime when you start at orientation. You don't have to pay anything above that. They'll even advance you some money on the rest of your training dollars. And to go to a truck driving school, you're going to pay several $1,000s, $3,000, $5,000. I've heard as much as $8,000. Yes, you can get it reimbursed if you hire on at a company. I've stayed with Prime for more than my 1 year now, so I don't owe any of that money back. I just see, yes, if you leave before the year, you're going to have to owe that money. But if you went to a truck driving school, you would have owed the money to get your CDL anyway. So I strongly feel like you're going to get the best education in learning if you don't care, if you just want a piece of plastic that says you're a CDL driver, you can go to a truck driving school and you're going to get that piece of plastic, but that doesn't necessarily put you, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. PSD through Prime sets you up to succeed in the second part of your training significantly better than a truck driving school. Both of them are going to get you the piece of plastic that says you're a CDL holder. You are licensed to drive a large combination vehicle. But which one sets you up for better success in the second half of training, which is how to be a truck driver? And personally, I think Prime does a significantly better job of preparing you for that than a truck driving school. And that's just talking to PSD and TNT instructors and trainers. That's what I got for you this week. Hope you continue to enjoy the videos. It is spring out. Love it. Sun is out. It's beautiful. Enjoy the weather. Enjoy the videos. Keep watching. Like them, share, subscribe. I've had a couple of folks say they've named me on their references when they start with Prime. Really appreciate that. Wanted to say hi to Herbert. He has come to Prime. He had watched my videos before coming, started in February, and tracked me down right here in Decatur at the Prime terminal. Appreciate you watching. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next week.